House is a show which has some of the best animated characters of all time. Two of them, right there. I love this neat background. The designs, the arcs, the story progressions, and just all of the fun dynamics and interaction makes the cast of characters really fun to follow across the 3 seasons of television. And while the majority of the characters are good, some just aren't tibbles, and but they're just not all the same. So let's rank top 10 Owl House characters. Just to let you know, not all of them are just the most developed characters, but just ones I really enjoy. So don't kill me for leaving some of your favorites off the list. Okay, the 10th and best character has to be Camila Noceda. We don't see too much of her, mainly just in Yesterday's Lion thanks to them. But the time between those 2 episodes and the story we get there, and just with her smaller appearances as well, it's just something really special. From the first episode of this show, she seemed to be a nice mother, but one who was concerned about Luz not fitting in. When she finds out that Luz ran away from home in Yesterday's Lie, she blames herself, but in reality, because of thanks to them and the development there, it just ties together the characters so well. She was very similar to Luz when she was younger, and it is implied she couldn't make friends as well, and maybe she even got bullied. She was only trying to protect Luz and make her life better instead of supporting Luz's interests and hobbies, so there was that conflict of trying to do the right thing but ended up hurting Luz. That bit of development, plus all just the nice, kind stuff we see her do that makes her a great mom, like take care of V, or in For the Future trying to support Luz staying in the Boy Isles at least part-time, just makes Camila an amazing character. Darius Deamonne is my 9th favorite character in the Owl House. I did not know that was his last name, but who knew? Again, we don't see much of him, probably less than we do of Camila, but he is so fun to see in the show, just interacting with other characters. His best role is that of the father figure to Hunter, which just really humanizes him. But when we thought he was the villain as well, he still had that somewhat fatherly feel and also is just so sarcastic and funny. He is someone who carries himself with a lot of status, and seeing him interact with some of our bigger personalities in the show who don't take themselves so seriously provides for a lot of great jokes, whether it's him with the cats or caring more about his cloak than catching traitors. Darius is just one of those characters who fills out the world, but then also adds so much to the world of the show. 8th spot is filled by Raine Whispers, one of the show's most iconic characters. Now, Raine is best known for his role in Eda's Requiem, and that is still probably their best appearance, but they've had so many other amazing moments. The flashback episode with Eda is a note example where they really shined as a character. Some other elements of their story, which I really enjoy, is them protecting Eda in episodes like Follies at the Coming Day Parade, them being Belos' puppet in Season 3, and them just being a great non-binary representation in the show. At number 7, we have the Collector. I admit I had my doubts on him by the end of For the Future. He had so much more development which still needed to occur, and seemingly too little time, but I was wrong. His story is so incredibly interesting, and that kid who played games with Titans, then having Belos as a dark and twisted father figure / friend, just for a few centuries, then his games with King, and ending that with him becoming fully fleshed out in the finale, just amazing. And the fact that until watching and dreaming, the Collector was just mimicking those around him was something really interesting to explore, and added a lot more to his young at heart and childish persona, which we see and was really interesting. But the thing which makes him truly stand out as a character is how he had his development. His new friend died, who was the first one who really wanted to help him. Sure, King did as well, but it was different, and it was the Collector's fault for Luz dying. Having this be the way he realizes the fragility of human life and grow as a character is just such brilliant writing and makes him into such an amazing character. And related to the Collector, the 6th best character has to be King Clawthorne. Although having a lot of development in the 2nd season of The Owl House, he still feels like the least developed character in the trio, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. King's development of trying to find his place in the world and that of finding his family, it is a good story, and it has a lot of moments which to shine throughout the show, and in all 3 seasons, his development is the one which was spread out the longest. But I think how King really exceeds as a character is as a compliment to others. Whether it is using him as a B-plot in an episode, or having him just be there to comfort other characters and accompany on their journeys, the majority of the best King moments are when it comes to being someone else. in Edge of the World, the most King-heavy episode in the show. The best moment is when King goes to comfort Luz after the trauma she endured in the previous episode, and stuff like that is just why King is such a great character. And starting up the top 5 characters is Hooty! If you told me while watching The Lion Witch and a Warden that the door creature was going to be one of the best characters, I wouldn't have believed you, but now he is truly evolved. Now, Hooty is mainly a comic relief character, but he is also one of the show's better characters, just as that, providing so many memorable moments and interactions with others. But in the second season, we developed one of Hooty's best running gags into the sweetest relationships in the show. In the second season, Hooty becomes best friends with Eda's sister, Lilith. While this is played as a joke, it does give a lot of subtle character development. Hooty's always been kind of a joke character, but one who everyone just dislikes and tries to avoid mating, and it's not until Lilith do we really start to realize and think about how lonely Hooty's life is. And once we get that relationship between the characters explored, Hooty has some great moments of defending Lilith, his tear as the clock, or them reuniting. Hooty is unironically one of the show's best characters, and I'm glad for that. Okay, Luz Noceda was a pretty good protagonist in the first 2 seasons of the show, but in season 3, she really earns her spot here in 4th place, and definitely has become Disney's best protagonist, at least in their TVs. Her journey of entering the fantasy world, finding acceptance, then needing to suffer tragedy after tragedy. It's just one of the saddest character progressions of TV from the first and second season, and then just season 3 makes the story even better, even richer, even sadder with flashbacks and the diary sequence. There, she needs to confront the place where she belongs, and is trapped both in the human realm, but in her mind, thinking she has done nothing but hurt her friends and family, only to then be forced back into the action and even dying for those friends, and even dying for someone she barely knew. She jumped in front of the Collector, someone who was tormenting the people that she loves. Luz's whole epilogue story payoff was just perfect, and also we haven't even covered her relationship with Amity. I suck at this. Her relationship with Amity, and that just develops her even further and makes her truly one of the best TV protagonists of all time. But there is one thing worth fixing, and I'll cover that later. In third is Hunter. Again, one of the show's just most tragic characters who has such a great story. Hunter lived his whole life training to be the perfect soldier, believing he could make his uncle proud, his last living relative, by becoming the best he could possibly be, to fight for what he was told was the right thing. Then, Hunter is forced into interactions with characters like King, Luz, Amity, Willow, Darius, and Gus, who make him begin to question what he is doing and if it's right, and all of this is worsened by the appearance of Flapjack, and then something just breaks him. He's forced into his uncle's mind. He realizes that his uncle, Emperor Belos, isn't the Jesus figure he was led to believe, but some witch hunter set on making the world burn, who has been using his whole army of clones to do it, with Hunter being the newest piece to further the scheme. And then Belos tries to kill Hunter, who is after that accepted into this big family both in the Boiling Isles and on Earth, where he finally sees love and not only realizes he's worthy of it, but he can feel it and express it to others, and that journey is just unbelievably special and amazing to watch, and I love it so much. And next up, second place, is Hunter's uncle, Philip Wittebane, Emperor Belos, the master of deception who spent hundreds of years ruthlessly fighting for humanity and losing it all that he had along the way. There isn't too much to cover with him. While that premise sounds simple, it gives so much development, especially in relation to characters like Luz, Hunter, the Collector, and even Lilith, and what humanity means to them. Belos is just so great. Most of these characters I might do in-depth videos on, but I definitely need to do one for him, because there's a lot to explore, and we don't have enough time. Finally, although it was really hard to choose between Belos and this character for first place, I had to choose Amity as the Owl House's best character. And I think it's pretty well deserved because she is just so well written. Now, there are only a few elements of her character which we really got explored, but they all tie together so much, and it still provides for a lot of development, mainly at those nexus points where they interact. and that is where the best development comes, and it makes her probably more developed than almost every other character on the list. Some of her most interesting elements is how she was sort of a bully while also being a nerd, which was really cool, by the way. Her family life, her love of Azura, her relationship with Luz, and just her relationship with Willow as well as friends and enemies. In each episode that she appears, she never wastes a second of screen time. She also feels like one who handled the development the best because her development is one aspect of her life. It affects here, it also affects this, and this, and this, and that just makes her a really three-dimensional character. Some of her best moments are her original rivalry with Zeus, blowing up the Abomination Expo for a picture of her friends, and meeting Hunter in Eclipse Lake, her stopping and being friends with Willow, working with her father and reaching out, the scrapbook and thanks to them, reuniting with her father, and of course, Amity scenes. Without Amity, the Owl House would be such a different show, and most likely one that's a lot more dull. So while Belos is the perfect villain, Amity is the perfect light to bring both the light into others in universe, but light into the show as a whole. Yes, I did call Amity the show's light. Luz can suck. Anyways, though, that's all I have to say. I know some picks and characters I didn't include may be a tad bit controversial, but again, this is my opinion, and I would love to hear your ranking down in the comments and your takes on mine. I mentioned earlier that Luz's story could have been improved, and there's one change that could have fixed her, and that is she needed to die in watching and dreaming. In this video, I go into why and how that would affect the show as a whole, so make sure. Check it out. Subscribe for plenty of other videos on Owl House and animation as a whole. Thanks so much for watching. I have been Fictional Fanatics. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, bye!